Happy Monday, and welcome back to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode 63. It is June 6th, and my name is Ethan Shalloway, and I'm joined as usual by Chris Salona. And Chris, how are we doing today, man?
I'll tell you, it is a privilege and an honor to be with you on this 6th of June, 2022, or beyond, depending on when you're listening. I'm doing pretty well today, not letting my lack of sleep keep me down. We were quite disgruntled last week having to sit down and record episode 62, but I'll tell you, you turn the page, it's a brand new sheet of canvas here for 63. I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, too. We are recording this on a Monday. It's coming out on Monday, so the feelings are the same. We have this full week ahead of us. Actually, we're recording on a Tuesday. I'm a liar.
Well, it's the first just like you.
Well, yesterday was a holiday in the U.S.
Yeah, we're all messed up. Yeah,
so we're all
the last day of May today as we sit down to record this.
Yeah, which May was good to us, so I like May always, but June's gonna be good as well. So
totally,
I'm doing well. I just did some travel, so I was a little jet lagged and disconnected in a few different forms of the word. So I feel good to be back in a little bit, getting back in the routine, sitting down with you. So yeah, dude, all things considered, I'm doing pretty good.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear it. I'm very excited to be getting into June. I love the summertime. I'm excited. May was good, as you said. I think June's going to be good as well. And
I've heard a lot of good things about it,
Exactly. I also think I haven't gotten a haircut in like 3 months. I think I'm doing it. I think I'm growing it out for a little bit.
Well, you realize you're saying this on live television, so people are going to hold you against this.
You have to hold us to it. I don't know how long. It's never going to be as long as I did back when I was in college, but I'll let it grow a little bit. Get the muzzy going still, a month strong on the muzzy, and that's
awesome.
I think it just makes sense.
I kind of got some hair. My hair's getting a little longer too, and I know we've talked about it. You're like, should you do it? Should we do it? Yeah. And it's never a bad time to grow out your hair a little bit.
You grow your hair out just to prove that you have control over something.
Yep, and then you cut it off to do the same.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of exciting. I mean, this is summer though. It's always tough picking.
I know
you're in the hot
tough.
times
but
of the year.
You're gonna be hot anyways. I mean, having the mane, having some lettuce up top, some moss isn't gonna be a deal breaker. I don't think.
Nah, you should be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
All right. So for this episode, we are going to have a discussion on the wonderful band Blind Melon and Shannon Hoon. We're pretty excited. It's one of our favorite bands of the era, I think, as far as just like summer. For me, like summer playlists and stuff, like they have a really special place.
Yeah.
We don't post them. We probably could post them a little bit more, but
I would say they sit very firmly in that category of whenever I listen to them, I'm like, wow, I need to listen to them more. And the same thing as it relates to the page. When I post them, I'm like, wow, I should really post more Blind Melon. There was about a month ago, I posted them pretty consistently, and people were excited about it. But yeah, such a great band, and definitely one that I hold in very high regard. And it's got to be up there for bands from that era that didn't come from the Pacific Northwest. I never really get tired of their music, and some of their songs that are favorites of mine from them, I think you could stack up with my favorites from a lot of different bands, and I really enjoy them. Happy to finally talk about them. This idea has been on the hopper for a couple of months now, and now we're finally getting to it.
Yeah, we'll probably get into it more, but it's a good point that like they're highly regarded, but I think because of the small couple of 3 albums with Shannon, and it just doesn't get as much airplay, so it's not as like same thing with Temple of the Dog or certain album, the one-off albums that we have from bands. It's like, oh, I should listen to them more, but so we're going to be talking about a lot more about that and their music. But before we get there, we do want to say a big thank you to our patrons, and we have a long list that we're going to read off as we usually do. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that it only costs $2 to become a patron, or $5 or $10, but the lowest is $2.
Only $2.
Yeah, and that, as we like to call, is a really shitty cup of coffee, and you get 4 episodes per month, so it's pretty good if my math is correct, that's pretty good value for your 50 cents each week, you know?
As we sit here, we get to ring the bell once again this week. We received a new top-level patron this morning, and I'm very excited about it. So welcome aboard to the top tier, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey. So I exchanged messages with this person. They also informed me not only did they join the top level on Patreon, but they did purchase some merch as well. So just an attack, a well-coordinated attack on all fronts we're getting. And I got a good origin story. So they told me that they found our page right at the end of 2020. One of their friends shared one of our posts on their story, and Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey saw it, liked what it was about, and that really helped them get into grunge. They were not into it beforehand, and they started listening to the podcast on episode 24, and they haven't missed a week since, and I guess they have felt inspired enough to put some skin in the game and be a person of action, as we like to talk about here, supporting not only the Patreon but the merch as well. So we're very, very grateful and thankful to have you aboard. It's fucking sweet. I like that.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome. I love some good interactions. I remember seeing the message you sent, and he was super excited to be on board, and that's what I love. I believe
he smoked a celebratory stogie as well.
I didn't want to I didn't want to overshare, but like he was celebrating with a cigar.
He upgraded. In his words, he upgraded from the shitty cup of coffee to a stogie, a celebratory cigar. I don't know if he did that this morning or. I mean, it's like a 6 a.m. cigar. I mean, I hope so. I think I might have to try that out.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. Shout out to...
Yeah, that fires me up. So Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, thank you for joining the top tier. And you join this esteemed list that... I can say this, it's growing, and it just grew by one today. Yes. Who knows? Next week it could grow by 1, 2, or 10. Who knows? But the individuals who comprise that, aside from our new member, are Carlene Solona, Wayne Staley, Victor Schaefer, Kara Kay, The Blue Owl, Fresh Tendinitis, Jade Mercado, Doug Endy, Fuck Soup, Rachel Corning, Jamie Lynn, our number one fan from Australia, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Release, Alexis Shannon, Millie, Kayla Jean, Marianne, Nikki Six, Shannon Gorgone, Sue, Sunny Mashburn, Lauren Irene, Chris LSMS, Black Hole Sean, Darian Riddle, Brenda, Alex Long, and Captain Hightop. I almost just shortchanged Black Hole Sean. I almost just said Sean. That wouldn't have been, I would have had to start over. I can't disrespect.
We wouldn't have known who you were talking about.
Exactly. Like, who the hell is Sean? Who's in here? His name's Sean. But yes, thank you to all of you for your continued support as we roll on to episode 63.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. When I was in California this past week with our good friend Nick, and Drew, obviously our producer Drew, but I was with Nick and his fiance and her sister, and they all had Grunge Bible merch. They all had the
grassroots support. I like that.
Yeah, they loved it. They love that we're doing it and stuff, and they were really great to have around. But I love seeing friends, friends wear the gear that is out there. So head over. The merch is going fast. So
it's also
check it out.
Yeah, it is good. I was just this weekend actually. I was a little cookout, a little grill out situation, and a couple of my friends came up to me and I never told them about this podcast or the page, and they're like, holy shit, dude, like I was listening to the podcast, like you guys are good. I was like, oh, which ones did you listen to? And they're like, I started at the beginning. I was like, no, it's not good. We're not good then. We're not good now, but we certainly weren't good then. But yeah, the base continues to grow, and we put it out into the world, and we're very thankful for anyone who chooses to consume it, share it, and if they choose to support us in any way, it's a really, really big help.
Absolutely. I was just gonna pull up. We're really close to 100,000 streams, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think we're at 93,000.
Yeah, 93 exactly. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So this one will probably do it.
We just need 7,000 melon heads out there, and next thing you know, we'll be sitting pretty at 100K. So without further ado, the mighty Blind Melon, Ethan. As I said, I'm very excited to talk about this band. Like I said, there's some songs that I never get tired of, and I think goes without saying, in terms of voices, Shannon Hoon had one of the most unique and most talented voices, I think, from the era. Really, really distinctive. I mean, you listen to a millisecond of his voice and you know that it's him, and he did a lot of really, really impressive things with it.
Yeah, he reminds me of a lot of Andrew Wood, and a lot of influence from him, and obviously, and like kind of the look, the hair, and the kind of the mannerisms. But yeah, his voice is very unique and very special, and a lot of the recordings they have of him, I feel like he really, he took liberty to express his voice and to do kind of fun stuff with it. So he always had a personality in those songs that was really, is always nice to hear from artists. What about his voice really stands out to you? Like,
what about it? Stupid. I was just about to say the sound of it.
The way it sounds.
Obviously, I think his range and just like and I'm not musically inclined, but like the register that he sang in, and I think the versatility. And I always, when I listen to him, like I can't help but think of Janis Joplin. I know a lot of people kind of make that comparison. Especially, there's a version of Blind Melon performing Me and Bobby McGee, which was popularized by Janis. They performed that as a part of their 2 meter sessions. I think they did in '93. And that, I mean, you put those side by side, and I don't know, just he had such power. He had such a powerful voice, but not kind of in like the shaking your soul way that I think Lane could do, but kind of like a different, maybe a bit gentler, but really, really distinct, I think, and very unique. So I think that's what it is. It sounds unlike, any other voice from the era, in my opinion. And I think that's what sticks in it with me. And I think when he was at his best, you could tell there was so much joy coming through him when he performed and when he sang, and so much sincerity. And I think that coupled with the distinctiveness of his voice is kind of the draw for me. What about you?
Yeah, I really like his voice paired with the acoustic guitar, when he plays and it kind of comes off that with the twang of the guitar, or or the banjo or the kazoo or something like that, like kind of has that twang to it. That's not country or anything, but he just has this kind of like a bending voice at times, which is really really special. And so I really like the stuff when it's just him opening up a song with his guitar, or if it's just fully acoustic. But yeah, I agree with you. He is super unique, and it's pretty easy to kind of pick him out when you're listening.
Totally.
Obviously.
And I think the one thing about Blind Melon, they came, the members of the band, so at the time of their founding, and I guess their classic lineup prior to Shannon Hoon's death, it was comprised of Roger Stevens on guitar, Christopher Thorne also on guitar, Brad Smith on the bass guitar, Glenn Graham on drums, and then Shannon obviously taking vocals and assisting with guitar here and there. And they all came from some different parts of the country, and I think they probably had a lot of different influences growing up. And I think even on their first album, their self-titled in '92, and certainly I think on Soup, and then the other recordings that were released on Nico, you can tell there's just a melting pot of influences and styles going on. I mean, I always say with Blind Melon, number one, there's so much more than just No Rain, which I think a lot of people, when I talk about this band, I try to get them to just listen to one more song other than No Rain, and really, I think you can grow to appreciate it if you can see past No Rain. And I love No Rain, but I know it's very polarizing, and if you were live at the time, it was inescapable on MTV, at the time of the music video release. But two things, it's like, if you look past No Rain, and also this is a band that recorded a song that had a kazoo in it. I mean, so for Skinned, I mean, if you have a rock band that has a kazoo prominently featured in a song, I mean that is versatility, and I mean, come on, you can't do better than some kazoo action. But really, just the
really good kazoo part too,
fantastic. And he performed it live. I've watched live videos, live recordings of that. He's bringing that sucker home, which I can't imagine is the easiest thing to do. I don't know. I'm not a well-traveled kazoo player, but just the wide range of influences that I think they brought to the table, and really to kind of create a lot of different types of music, even on the same album, I think, especially as you got into their second record. But I mean, starting out, so the band got together in 1990, and through a few different ventures, they ended up coming up with a demo tape. I actually listened to it this morning. The demo tape was called the Goodfoot Workshop, and that is the tape that got them signed to Capitol Records in '91. And then the next year, after a few aborted attempts to record, they ended up going to the studio and they cut their self-titled album, which when No Rain became the sensation on MTV, that actually, that really pushed it in the mainstream. And that album ended up going platinum 4 times, which was the biggest commercial success that they had. But I mean, it's crazy. These guys got together. They put something together, I think, that was so polished as their self-titled album. And as it is with so many of these bands, the road was cut so short. And I think in '95, when the Soup album came out, I think they were really starting to spread their horizons and get into different areas. And then Shannon Hoon passed away in October of 1995. So it's such a short period with that really classic album with Shannon. So, you have 2 albums that were released when he was alive, and then the Nico album, which was kind of compilations of unreleased tracks that came out in '96. But I mean, in such a short time, I think, to make such a big impact and to make music that was that good, after having none of these guys really knew one another for forever, for decades or whatever. I mean, they got together and they made some really, really awesome music, and unfortunately the band ended way too soon, in my opinion. But
it's tough when you have a 4-year run or 5 years, and that first album is, we talk about that first album, that debut album for a lot of bands is usually pretty special, and then they tour a lot, and they have. And I'm thinking about other bands. We weren't alive for it, so we don't know how it. I mean, looking back, it's different. But sometimes, people come out with the second album, and it just comes from a different place, or maybe they're touring a ton, or there's a lot of things that are going on. So, and they had there was a lot of scrutiny with it, right? Because they were did so well on the first album. So that must have been tough.
And that's a common theme.
He felt like a lot of pressure for that third album. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I remember hearing that he was working really hard on Nico and trying to make something, because that's
on the Soup album in '95, and that one it didn't sell to the extent that the self-titled did in '92. But it's always really interesting, and this is something that I think about with a lot of bands, and certainly I think most of them that we talk about here. With that debut album, nobody knows, or nobody has any expectations of what a Blind Melon record is supposed to sound like, for example. So I always think it's really impressive when a band can go into the studio, not having released anything officially to the general public, certainly not on a major label, and to be able to craft a cohesive record and a cohesive sound, and put it out and really give people a good taste of what they are. I always think that's really impressive. And I also think it's impressive where on the second album, if bands are able to take that and expound on it or explore different areas, which I certainly think Blind Melon was able to do. And I know you spoke about it before, how Shannon's voice pairs so well with acoustic guitars. And, that's something that they certainly did on their debut album. I think of Change, obviously. Mm-hmm. They continued to do throughout their career, and they performed acoustically throughout their career, and they did quite a good job with it. And I really think it's just, to people that don't know the band, as I said, if they only know No Rain, I don't think how versatile this band was, and how talented the guitarists were. I mean, Roger Stevens and Christopher Thorne, I mean, those guys are incredibly talented. Some of their lead work, I mean, like if you just look at the guitar work in No Rain, for example, I mean, that's impressive. It's super, super impressive. I mean, it's the same conversation we have with Soundgarden. So you're listening to the voice, the vocalist, and you forget sometimes there's a really cohesive band surrounding that, and there's a really cohesive band.
The voice is so good because the band is setting it up so well, and allowing it to really shine.
Yeah, and I always, having been a sports background my whole life, I'll always equate bands and a good cohesive band to a good team sport and a good team when they're playing well together. I mean, all of those pieces have to go together. You have to know where the other people are going. You have to know where they're going to come in and everything. And I think this band did such a good job of doing that. Certainly, in the studio albums that they were able to release.
Yeah. So, did No Rain get you into Blind Melon?
It was undoubtedly,
I hate to say
I think for everybody, it was the first song that you had heard. I mean, Christ, I probably heard No Rain for the first time when I was like 3 in a department store or something, right?
Yeah.
And I think...
it's Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Exactly, yeah.
It really does have like a similar... people...
It's the same concept, like, oh, those guys, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I don't
It turns people off, too,
and that's
nowadays.
the thing, like, for Teen Spirit, like, I don't place that... I think because I wasn't alive then, I don't know how innovative it was because I didn't experience that innovation and that, you know, smack across the face of, like, this is Nirvana. I don't like Teen Spirit. Like, I don't think that's in the top 10 of their best songs, or certainly not my favorite. And No Rain, I think I feel kind of similarly. But undoubtedly, that was the one that I first listened to. And I think after that, I think I came across Change. We may have come across Change when we were living together in Pittsburgh all those years ago.
We definitely had I think we got into Shannon Hoon pretty early into our...
I think so. Before some other more obvious areas that you would think.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not... Maybe it was because of No Rain.
Who knows?
But yeah, I do remember talking about him and just... specifically, I remember watching certain videos and seeing Shannon Hoon's personality and what it seemed. And it seemed so gentle and so like just someone that you'd want to be around. Yeah. And I always kind of resonated with that, like that kind of person. It seemed like he just seemed like such a good guy. So I remember being, and then finding out that he had passed away at 28 and just like, holy shit. I mean, that just, one of those things where you get into them and then you realize that it's a tragedy. It's not really what you would expect when you start reading about somebody.
And that was and I know Shannon. We've had that experience a lot.
Of course.
You'll get into a musician and two that pop out of my mind similar to this, like you get into a band and you're like, wow, that's really good. And then you find out that one of the members or the artist passed away way too young due to drugs or struggles with different things. I always think of Elliott Smith and I think of Nick Drake as two people who I remember getting really into their music and then not knowing, how they passed away or that they had passed away.
Yeah.
And, it was very similar. I think obviously being the age that we are, not having, my life didn't even overlap with Shannon Hoon's, for example. I was born 11 months after he died. But kind of speaking to the, just kind of like the personality and just the humanity that he seemed to carry himself with. I know before we went on, you were talking about Danny Clinch's All I Can Say, the film piece, and I bet. So I have not seen it yet, which is horrible. You should banish me from this podcast forever. But I'd imagine that a lot of that was kind of home recording style stuff, and Shannon's humanity and his personality really probably shined throughout that film.
Yeah, I had watched it, and it's exactly that. I mean, it's an hour and a half of footage, and it's chronologically put together from 1990 to 95. So I always find it fascinating when somebody, understands the value of, say, a video, and I think it's changed a lot. I feel like back in the day, like my coach has a lot of film from back in the day, and it's so cool to look back. Even though now we take videos of every session or something like that, but like Shannon, he was back there taking videos, and he recorded everything. I mean, they have the last scene. It starts and ends with the same scene, which is the night before. It's the last footage of him in his hotel room.
Oh my goodness!
And saying and talking about like he needs to get on the bus. He needs to get a lot of sleep, and you can just see him. It's really strange because it's like his dying moments. It's his last time, and it's really well done, and it's totally a step into his personality, his struggles, and the rise and fall. And it's just different than like it's not a box office film, obviously. Like, you can find it's on YouTube, the full length, and it's just kind of surreal to kind of have such a in-depth look into. There's no like no one talking over. There's nothing. It's just like roll the tape.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when it always sucks because you watch something like that and you see a person like that, and it's so unbelievably unfair that somebody who I think could bring that much joy into the lives of people, that they were around, can struggle with things and ultimately succumb to different things that they struggle with. And Shannon, had struggled with substance abuse for a long time, right. and he had been up and down at different points, and it's really sad, and obviously this not genre, because I wouldn't consider Blind Melon certainly to be grunge, but this era, nobody in this era is a stranger to this type of thing, and I mean, God, you could spend 3 minutes and think of all of the people that died before their time, and it's such an exhaustingly long list, and it really stinks that, certainly for anybody, but, someone like Shannon to have struggled with that and to, not be here because of those things that he struggled with. It's really sad, and I think that's something that when I do watch that film, that's going to be on my mind too.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a few really cool parts. One part, there's a voice recording of Mike McCready. Well, it's his sister first. Like, hey, Mike wants to talk to you after he got out of rehab, and he wanted to talk to Mike or talk to Shannon for some advice and to get some help. And it was like kind of cool to see the interaction, and then also like a little bit of Shannon's reaction to when Kurt Cobain passed away, because that had a pretty good effect on him, because he was a big fan, and obviously was the same age. Yeah, the same age.
There's they were very close in age. I think they might have been shortly apart, but and there's the day, April 8th, 1994, the day the world found out that Kurt Cobain died, Blind Melon, they were on David Letterman's show that afternoon, and they played Change, and Shannon dedicated it to Kurt Cobain, and he wrote a big question mark on his forehead. And that's one video. We've posted it many times. I think we posted every single April 8th. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend to go and watch it. And that song Change, that's got to be one of my favorites. From the band. And I always think about the lyric. And I know we can't all stay here forever, so I'm gonna write my words on the face of today. I mean, that's.
I wrote those same lyrics, obviously, to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's he lived his. I mean, that's such a good lyric for an artist to kind of leave us, because that's what they would do. And Shannon had some really awesome lyrics. He had some really cool stuff and some really deep, deeper songs.
Yeah. I mean, I think of Soup, for example.
Soup, I think that might be my favorite Blind Melon song. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's really hard to listen to. I think when you sit down and you listen to the lyrics, I mean, you got to do your best to decorate this dying day. And then the outro to that song, when the drums kick in and that guitar comes in, and he's like, "I'm gonna pull the trigger and make it all go away. I'll make it all go away." And obviously, I think the first thing I think of is the performance at Woodstock '94.
Yes,
I
really
think that might have been the song that they opened with. And Shannon's running around on the stage, I think wearing his girlfriend's dress. I believe it's widely reported that he had used acid beforehand, and that's such a powerful performance. That is, and that song I think will always be an enduring part for me. Other songs that I think of Sleepy House and Drive from the self-titled debut album in '92. Those two, I think those might be my two favorite Blind Melon songs. They're perfect, like slow afternoon songs, and Drive is talking about different struggles of having a friend who might be addicted to certain things or going through some things, and there's more lyrics in Sleepy House. The mistakes that I made, they don't seem to bother me, and I sure as hell don't feel like I've missed any kind of train. I think throughout all of their entire catalog, I mean, there's so many different themes, but that seems to be one, kind of like not taking things for granted, and despite various struggles and shortcomings, you're still a person, you still have an opportunity to do good, I think, and that's obviously, I think, a reminder that is potent, and I think that's one that we all need, because we all struggle with certain things, and none of us are certainly perfect, as he wasn't, and it's always interesting, and I think that's one of my favorite things about music is it's pretty much it's a time capsule of whatever the writers were going through at the time that they wrote those songs, and they put those songs together. And I think about that a lot with Blind Melon. If you kind of have snapshots of what the band was going through, and the songwriters, and what it was like at different times. And you have a song like New Life, for example, bringing a child into the world. And it's just there's so many different things going on, I think, throughout their discography. And it's just it's sad, because you feel like there was obviously more there, and I think there was more that he wanted to create.
One of my favorite songs too, I think, is Galaxy, Hello Goodbye. And it's so funny, for the longest time when I would listen to that song, I had the lyrics all mixed up when he says, "But I'm not appalled or afraid," and the way it kind of goes up an octave. I always thought it says, "But I'm not a Polaroid," because he said, "But I'm not a Polaroid afraid." And I always messed it up for the longest time. It's one of those lyrics, how people mess up lyrics and stuff. So I'd sing it like I'm not a Polaroid, because I thought it was that. So, but that song has such a really good finish to it. It gets pretty jammy, and the band just kind of goes off. And like you were talking about earlier, it shows you how good the band behind Shannon was. And that's a really good song that I like to come back to and listen. Has just such a good melody, and allows his voice to kind of just it feels really free. It feels like a good space for his voice.
Yeah, totally. I feel similarly with Vernie, also off of the Soup album. I don't really... It's strange, because usually when I connect with a song, I connect with the song because of the lyrics. But this one, I just love the way it sounds, and I think it's a testament to, to all of the players in the band. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, we had somebody who requested that we post that on their birthday, and it had been such a long time since I had listened to that song that I almost, I'd forgotten that I liked it. And ever since then, I've been listening to it quite a bit. So, that's the thing. I think that is how I encapsulate Blind Melon's discography and their work, that I don't listen to it all the time, and when I do, I end up lingering there for a couple of weeks, listening pretty incessantly, because I'm this is really good. I'm kind of upset with myself that I don't listen as often as I should.
Yeah, that's the tough part when there's so much music out there. It's impossible to give everything the amount of time that you want to give it, or
it's an impossible balance.
No, it's an impossible. And it's funny because people are how have you not listened to more? We do our best
around here.
I can hear how have you not listened to more of this and that? It's because there's so much to listen to, so much good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, there sure is. And with Blind Melon, I mean, they were their classic era, or their initial era, was cut so short, obviously. But for one, I'm really happy, as I am, I think, in all cases, that they were able to continue on. I mean, there was a long hiatus. So Shannon died in 1995, and they didn't reform until 2006. They didn't play a live show until 2007, and they didn't release another record until 2008. So Travis Warren ended up coming on to do vocals, and I think he does a good job. One of those bands that I think if they came through my area, I would certainly go and see them. I think he does. He serves the songs very well, and I think all of those guys, with Nathan Town hopping in on bass instead of Brad Smith for the newer era, I think they deserve to be able to continue to create as Blind Melon in the same way that Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots deserve to go on without, despite the fact that Lane and Scott passed away respectively, I don't spend a lot of time listening to their newer stuff, but I've looked up, I've watched some performances on YouTube of some classic era Blind Melon songs. I think Travis does a really, really good job, and I'm always happy because the band is more than just the most famous individual that passed away. It's the sum of its parts, and I think when Shannon passed away, they lose a friend, but they also lose an ability to create music in the way that they probably wanted to for a long time. So I always think it's really cool, that they're able to continue. And definitely, I think some self-assigned homework. I need to listen to their album with Travis a little bit more. It came out in 2008, and it's called "For My Friends." And the title track, I know that one. That one's really, really good, and it's got a really good message. And fun fact, Blind Melon, their first show after Shannon Hoon passed away was on the 7th of October 2007 in the town in which I am currently existing, in Providence, Rhode Island. So that's a good little trivia fact. My eyes lit up when I saw that. Shout out to Providence, obviously.
That's awesome.
Because that's where I am.
That's awesome. So I do want to bring this up because we've talked about this other band a few times, but
I think I know where you're going with this.
I think we need to talk about the fact that Guns N' Roses and Shannon Hoon
are friends.
Shannon and Axl. So it was Shannon's sister that was friends with Axl, I believe, and kind of linked them up.
Yeah, because they're both born in Indiana. Shannon and Axl both hailed from the state of Indiana, so I think had to been where that connection came from, right?
Yeah, and I guess so they hung out, and he had Shannon come and sing backup for a few songs, and like just two of them, I think The Garden and Don't Cry.
Yeah, was it Use Your Illusion era? I think that's when that's where those suckers came from, right?
I believe so. And so that's, I'll give the Guns N' Roses crew and Axl props because that's the best thing that they've done in my eyes. That's pretty cool.
So I'll put it this way, because I'm sure you might want to know. I've been aware that Shannon Hoon provided backing vocals for Guns N' Roses,
of course,
a couple of their songs for quite a while, obviously. But every single time if someone brings it up, or if somebody mentions it, or if I think of it, my thought process is, oh, that's nice, and I don't go and listen to them. I don't know that I've ever listened to those songs.
Yeah,
Guns N' Roses, I just can't. I don't know. I just can't do it. So even with the presence of Shannon Hoon's lovely voice in the background, I don't know if that's enough to move the needle for me.
Yeah. Maybe next time we bring it up, we'll have a better
maybe in the next
shot.
life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's worth noting because
because at that time, obviously, I mean, Guns N' Roses were, much to my chagrin, they were the biggest band in the world, I think, in early '91 before grunge exploded. So I think, for Shannon to be able to sing on stuff like that before, that was before pretty much anybody knew what Blind Melon was. I mean, they hadn't even released their self-titled yet. And No Rain, the music video hadn't existed, obviously. So that's obviously a testament to Shannon at that time. But that can exist over there and not in my ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are like, why are they so against Guns N' Roses?
Well, at this point, I've dug in.
Oh yeah,
I've dug in so deeply. I can't just fill in this hole and move away. Like I live here now. I can't go anywhere else. And
yeah. Oh, 100%. There's a few bands that we have those takes, and I think my friend
Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue for me. You can save it. You can keep it out of my face.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy's like, that's a lazy take, and I'm like, well,
it's not lazy. It's not. And even if it is, fuck it. I don't care if it's lazy. It's my take, and it's my belief system, and here I am, and I don't have any space for it. The bandwidth is all used up, and if I have any extra, I'm not using it on hair metal.
No. Nope, not hair metal, and not Queens of the Stone Age.
See, Ethan, this is what happens. We take a topic as sincere as Blind Melon and Shannon Hoon, and then it just devolves into a diatribe against hair metal. So at least we're on brand. At least we're consistent.
I was say that's why people listen. I think they come for they want the same stuff. People want the big four, and they want to hear us shit talk a little bit. So
exactly, you gotta get the heart rate going. You gotta rile some people up from time to time. But I think going back to what we spoke about in the beginning about Blind Melon is, I think they're very much a melting pot of certain influences. How would you even categorize what type of music they created? I think I would just take the coward's way out and just say they're alternative rock, because that can mean anything. Because I really think they were so many different things. They were a lot of different things all at the same time in the best way.
Yeah, I think alternative rock is it, and sometimes when artists like are so, I would, I think it's fair to say that they're, lead singer dependent and stuff, and the lead singer is so unique, it's hard to really put them into certain areas with the rest of, I don't know, like even like Freddie Mercury with Queen. Like, I guess they're like anthem rock, but his voice is so much different than other like classic rock or like bigger band. Like, it's so unique. I think alternative rock, I always think of like maybe California rock or Sunshine or alternative rock or something.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, as you said, as Freddie Mercury relates to a lot of the singers of his era, I think Shannon, as he relates to a lot of the alternative rock singers of his era, not very similar. And I think certainly as the 90s wore on, you had a lot of different bands that created music that sounded very similar, and I think there were a lot of lead singers who sounded very similar. And I don't think Shannon. I don't think you could put Shannon's voice in a box, just as I don't think you could put Blind Melon's music in a box. And I think that is a singer's and that is a band's greatest asset, in my opinion, is the fact that they kind of occupy their own space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think when I think of Blind Melon, I definitely do think of the Woodstock performance.
Yeah, that was such a good performance. It was so good.
Yeah, it was. We enjoyed posting that one. I think that's such a, and like I feel like there's a lot of bands you think of, maybe Woodstock '69 or even Woodstock '99.
Woodstock '99. I mean, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, people think about like Blind Melon '94, Woodstock '94 is a really good like genre, him in that white dress and like with a flower in his hair, like that is Blind Melon's genre to me.
Yeah,
it's Woodstock '94.
I would agree with that, and that was a hell of a show. I've watched that in its entirety a few times, and I never get tired of it. And it's hard with them because anytime I want to post them, I just automatically feel drawn to posting that. But I'm like, I gotta give some variety every now and then. But if it were up to me, it's always like No Rain, Change, or Soup from that performance, like every single time, just out into the world. But we have to just firing blindly into the good night. But I mean, it's so good. It's so good. So I have to say, as we kind of wrap this up, assuming it's not No Rain, and if it is No Rain, that's fine. If you had to force somebody to listen to one Blind Melon song, to kind of hopefully get them into the band, which one would you pick?
No Rain. No, I'm just kidding.
I think the ripped away version of No Rain, that slow one.
I do like that. I
like that one a lot.
No, I think I do. I really do like the Galaxy. Hello Goodbye. It's the first song off the second album.
Yeah.
Because I think it does have a nice little build. It has a really solid melody where you can hear his voice. Soup is, that performance would be really easy one to show. But yeah, I think I would go with Galaxy. Hello Goodbye. How about you?
Absolutely. It's difficult for me to pick because I think I naturally skew towards some of the slower songs. But I think if I had to pick one, I would pick from their self-titled. I would pick the song I Wonder. I just think it's a really, really good microcosm of what the band was. I mean, it's got a couple of different tempo changes, and I think the music and the vocals are just perfect. And it's got one of my favorite lyrics at the end as the song kind of closes out. Things slow down, and Shannon says, "And I only wanted to be 16 and free." And that's just kind of, I'm such a sucker for like a cliffhanger lyric like that'll really keep you thinking as the song fades out. And that is certainly one that does that. So I think I would pick I Wonder. It's tough for me to not pick Sleepy House, but I think I'm picking I Wonder.
Nice. Yeah, both are great choices. Yeah, I think when I show someone else a new band, I want something a little bit. It is tough to pick like a really slower type of. It needs to be the right person, or it needs to be the right type. It needs to be like right up their alley as far as like slower songs go. So I want to pick something a little bit more, a little more pace to it.
Yep.
And then let them find that other area on themselves. Because that's a lot of times, like for me too, like slower songs. I'm sure that you've sent me some stuff, and I'm like, that's slower, and I'm like, I need to wait till tonight.
You need to wait until you have the adequate time to get into it. I totally agree.
Because I've also listened to songs like, yeah, that was pretty good, and then I come back, 2 weeks later, I'll text you like, dude, I didn't like, I finally listened.
Yes, we've both like, done this. Like, I finally really listened.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit, dude, I'm finally getting into Modest Mouse or certain bands that, oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, I think a lot of people are really fond of Mouthful of Cavities. I think a lot of people are fond of Soul One. I think those are kind of two other ones that aren't the slowest songs in the world. So I think they would hold a first time listener. They would hold their attention for at least the initial part, so they could get into it. But really such a good band. And I think I'm going to post some Blind Melon later today on the page, and certainly when this episode comes out, I think we have to.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I think closing thoughts, unless you have anything else, and then we can go to Song of the Week and some other stuff. Yeah. In the movie, there was a scene where he was recording his sister, and I think his sister was on the phone with either her boyfriend or Shannon's girlfriend at the time or something, and they were like watering plants, but his sister said, if the petals bend and don't break, it means there's probably still life in it. And it had like this really eerie thing, because Shannon was, he's like said behind the camera, like, she hasn't even watered it yet. And it was like this really interesting interaction. And I just love that. Like, if the petals bend and don't break, it means there's probably still life in it. Yeah. And, when you have artists, you go through hard times, and, it seems really difficult, but, there's always still life in those people when they're going through those difficult times, when they're bending. Bending is one thing, but bend and don't break. And I love that. I read that, and I heard it, and I was like, yeah, that's that a lot. That's really good. And it came during a time, I'm not sure the date of it, but or when it was exactly for him. I would need to go back and check, but I was like, damn, that's so true. And there's a lot of artists and stuff, and especially when you're looking back at it, and you get to see it like with the bookends, and you can think certain things.
Totally. But and I think that applies to the artists, and I think it applies to the songs. There's a lot of life left in these songs, even though some of them are approaching 30 years old. Wow. Yeah, 30 years. Yeah, I mean, I guess his 30-year anniversary will be in 3 years. Yeah, a couple of years. Crazy. All right. Blind Melon, Shannon Hoon, a legend. Long live. A true legend, yeah. Yeah, I have to say, a little bit of melon talk can really brighten anyone's day. I'm already having a good day, and this put me in a better mood to talk about this band, and it's going to put me in an even better mood when we get off this podcast and I listen to this band. But really enjoyed that conversation, and grateful to be able to sit down and have that with you. I'm glad we had it. Yeah, it was good suggestion. Finally got it down, put it on the calendar, so that was fun. Absolutely. So as we get ready to close up shop, an important section of the show, there is no new news to report on the Jerry Cantrell trail. The man himself, the men themselves are hopefully resting, as we said last week, and they're preparing. Europe, they're incoming, so it's gonna happen. I can't wait to discuss that. Hopefully we get some people writing in who are able to see it, and hopefully we can share those experiences on the air. Yeah, I wonder. I'm excited to see the set list, if he changes it up at all, or if he. Hope so. One can only hope. Get some other deep cuts in there. I'd appreciate that. But speaking of appreciation, always extending our most heartfelt appreciation to our producer Drew McFadden, who has been with us every step of the way. As we all know, this would not be in your ears at the present moment if Drew did not exist, or if Drew hated us or didn't want to work with us. You wouldn't have a podcast. So thank you, Drew. You are the legend and the scholar, and the man with the know-how to get this done. So shout out. Thank you, Drew. You're doing a great job over there in California. Always. So
songs of the week. Song of the week. This is where Chris and Ethan tell you what we've been listening to and what you should be listening to, what you should give it a shot. Because everybody likes good song recommendations, and we thought that we can give you exactly that, good recommendations.
You might not like it, but we're serving it up. The dinner's on the table.
Yeah, you may not like it, but they're still good recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. They're just not for you.
Yeah. So I'll go first. Okay. And sometimes we give new songs, brand new music. Sometimes we go back in the archive. I'm going back in the archive. This is an old song, and I know that you love this song because I know
there's so many different areas you could travel for this one. I'm excited. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to hear this.
Go back to the beginning of our friendship, and I'm going for some Creedence.
I think I know what this might be.
Do you think it's Creedence?
No, I didn't think it was going to be Creedence.
Oh, darn. I'm going, dude. I want to put Bad Mood Rising on this badass playlist. I mean, absolutely. It's June. We're into June. We're into the summer. I was driving with the windows down, and I was trying to, some of the normal stuff that I've been playing with the windows down wasn't cutting it.
No, it doesn't.
But Creedence will always get the job done. I mean,
trouble on the way.
Drive by a ballpark. Get a nice glizzy, or you got a cookout.
Oh yeah, the glizzy god.
You got some burgers and some hot dogs. You got to slam down with a couple of Diet Coke or something.
Nothing washes down a good glizzy in a ball game like some Creedence and some beer.
I mean, look how happy we are right now just talking about it. Like this song,
it's the happiest I've been in weeks.
Yeah, this is one of the first songs that we loved listening to some CCR back in the day. Oh, yeah. So this is a no-brainer. It needs to be on the playlist.
That's fantastic. So, we need some Creedence. I don't know that we've had any Creedence on the songs of the week playlist. So for an editorial note, the song that I thought you were going to select, because you said it goes back to me, I thought you were going to pick "In the Summertime" by Mungo Jerry. That would have been a good one. "In the Summertime" or "Mighty Man" by Mungo Jerry. That's another song with a kazoo. See, there we go. It's all full circle. Oh my goodness. Yeah, CCR, sign it, seal it, deliver it. It is you need to listen to that in the summertime.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
All right, Chris, you're up.
Yeah, my selection. So I'm also going back, certainly not that far back, and I don't think we have I know that we don't have a connection over this, but lately I've been listening to a lot of the Black Keys. Recently I purchased tickets with some pals of mine to go and see them, I think in July. Yeah, I think in July. And I love the Black Keys. I love all their shit, but specifically I love a lot of their earlier stuff. And so my song of the week is going to be a song from their first record called The Big Come Up. And the song is called Do the Rump. And I think that's a Junior Kimbrough song or a song from the old blues tradition. But I love their version of it. It's super rough around the edges, as a lot of their earlier stuff was. It's super bluesy. The vocals from Dan Auerbach are kick-ass. Patrick Carney on the drums, super, super good. I love the Black Keys. I don't care who knows it. I just posted this song the day before we're sitting down to record this as a midnight special, because I've decided the midnight specials are back on Grunge Bible. Just another excuse that we have to share. Who knows, maybe Creedence will be on there soon, but I think that's a pretty good 1-2 punch. You get Bad Moon Rising, and then you get Do the Rump by the Black Keys. Those are good. Those are good driving songs. Those are good kind of summertime.
It's essential.
Good mood songs.
It's essential for the beginning of June, the beginning of the second half of the year. Technically,
no, not quite. You gotta wait
1 more month.
If my math is correct.
I found out I was a liar. Just like
the math monster always gets us at least a couple of times on these shows. So, awesome. Man, I love our songs of the week this week.
I do too, man.
This is really good.
Yeah. I love I'm glad we do it. I love our little segments, dude. I love the weekly check-in, and I love the songs of the week, man. And they're great. They keep the podcast together.
You bookend a good episode, and that's really all there is to it. You just gotta start well, end well. And the middle will take care of itself.
Oh, that's awesome. I kind of want to talk about more. Is there anything else we can banter about?
Let's just go on for 3 hours about Creedence now. Let's talk about Run Through the Jungle and Lodi and
just do a Creedence podcast. Is that on deck?
Because there's a weird intersection of Creedence and The Big Lebowski, obviously, because Creedence is featured in The Big Lebowski, and I know the people want a Big Lebowski episode, and it's coming, but we just need to get into the right frame of mind to really give it its due.
Yeah, and I don't want to don't want to do it and then have people unfollow the page because they got what they wanted. They got what they came for.
Yeah, we're denying the crowd hose water.
Yeah, because people are like, once I get the Big Lebowski episode, then I'm good. So we're holding on to it. Yeah,
so we're holding it out. We're baiting everybody. It's coming soon. You just gotta stick around just a little longer. It'll be.
We definitely need a movie episode so we could do maybe Flight. Your favorite?
Shit, I'm back.
Back.
I would love to do Flight. I've seen it 9 times in the last 3 months.
Oh man,
it's important. Harling Mays and Whip Whitaker.
Any movie with Walter and John Goodman, and is going to be for me. Harling Mays. These guys are
can't go wrong. Just as you can't go wrong spending an hour with Grunge Bible.
I think that does it, huh?
Yeah, I think that does it. I'm excited. We're gonna.
The nice part is we'll be back next week.
We will.
Same time, same place. A little bit different banter, but mostly
the cool
the same.
Thing, Ethan? So we've been doing this for at least 63 weeks. I think 64 counting the trailer week. Mathematically speaking, we are the most consistent thing in a lot of the listeners' lives.
Yeah?
You have to be. There's a lot of shit that comes and goes over the course of a year and a half. But we're always there.
Yeah. You can count on it.
Yeah.
Which is important.
That's us. We're dependable. Wow. If everything else in your life is in flux, you can lean on the Grunge Bible podcast. We'll be here for you.
Damn, that's a lot of responsibility, but
that is a lot of responsibility. But we haven't fucked up yet, so
yeah, no.
And we won't.
Close, but no, not yet.
Yeah, we've come close a few times, but
very close.
Nevertheless, it's still that train still pulls through the station.
We bend, but we don't break.
Yeah,
Chris.
Still got a lot of life left in us.
That means that there's still a lot of life in us. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Ethan, thank you for sitting down with me for the last little bit of time. I really enjoyed it. To everyone out there listening, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. It means a lot to us, and we hope that you enjoy it and that you continue to enjoy the Grunge Bible podcast.
We will be back. We will be back next week, same time. Have a great week.
Yeah, we will.
And please rock and roll, everybody.
Rock and roll. Listen to some Creedence while you're at it too. Come on.
Yes. All right. See you guys.
See you later.